Every season of my life as an artist and a designer, there's been a few skill sets that I really feel play major roles both physically and mentally in designer's understanding of the creative process. From graphic design principles into production. What we're really just talking about is artwork, printing, and trimming. How to look at artwork, how to think with images and imagery, how to reference and talk about artwork, printing methods, capabilities, limitations, contexts, options and potentials. And then the same thing goes for trimming. The finishing process of the composition, whatever products you make in. Trimming, scoring and folding, composing with materials. These skill sets really just act like muscles for designers. You're supposed to be able to work them out with repetition and then also be able to display them. These are just valuable skill sets that make you a valuable designer, from my perspective. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Embarklife. I just had a design job come through a few days ago. You know, since the last video, just cleaning up the studio space and working on a website. Just got a little last minute job, pop out on my cell phone, wedding design job. Wedding decoration, tabletop signage, welcome sign banner, and some place cards. This wedding gonna be 2 weeks out from the time I got text message, so it's gonna be emergency mode situation. Getting a little down to the wire right now. We're kind of running out of time. I just got a text message. We got a wedding coming up, about to pop out in like 2 weeks. We don't got no signage. We need some signage. Can you help us with the job? I'm just like, that's exactly what I like to do. It's kind of late notice though. I understand, because I did my own wedding designs and I was designing up until the night before wedding. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna make a video for this one, but I popped the camera out to document some of the process, so you know, we can talk about it right now. Alright, the project already left the studio. The finished pieces already in Hawaii. That's where the wedding gonna be at. All I have left is some test prints right here. We got this one for scale of see the entire composition, see how the balance is working out. This is basically just gonna make some approximate judgments for the print quality when it gets finally printed at the full size. This intended to be 36 by 24, so it'd be big print. Final printer file already sent out to Hawaii where it's about to be printed, so this is a part of being a director. When I was working through the design process for these wedding decorations, very quickly reminded of all the many hours that I spent doing artwork, printing, and trimming. Actually, one of the first classes that I was being judged in for design school was a class called Materials, Tools, and Comping Techniques. Being able to identify typical materials and tools that you would see in a big art supply store. Understand their roles in a professional design setting. In reality, what I just be using is any tools that I just want to be using for what I be doing. You use any tools you want. But it also helped to understand the reason some of these tools exist too, because it help you think about design more differently. Also, the class went over all the general comping techniques that a design student should know to go through design school. All right, wedding decorations. We discussed with the client, and in this case, it's gonna be the client contact. We go over text and email, and we go over the items in the spreadsheet, little different deliverables, and we gotta make a mental note of all their final formats. You know, what we making. Like, we're gonna make a banner, we're gonna make some place cards, we're gonna do some tabletop signage. About 100 guests. We're gonna be setting up the files. Let me show you real quick. We're working on files right now. Perfect little student project for y'all to learn a little bit about what a graphic designer actually be doing. We got the paper, the computer, print it back out on the paper, take it to the table, and we cut it out. We gotta figure out the dimensions, we gotta figure out the quantities. For this wedding, we really just gonna keep it pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The first thing about artwork is gonna be direction. There are many different styles and visual languages, but you ultimately gotta choose one solid direction that's gonna govern all the artwork. You gotta settle on one, but don't worry, you can support it with other stylistic choices. You gotta balance. You gotta have that one main thing, but you gotta throw in some little different ways to go about it. Make it special. You don't have to overthink it. Everything not have to be too special. You gotta make it a little bit the way you gotta do it. You know what I'm saying? You a designer. Also, with direction comes the considerations for how this artwork is going to be printed. So you gotta think about printing methods, and you also gotta think about the limitations of the artwork and the capabilities of the artwork in terms of the printing method that you're going to be using. So you got kind of have to think back and forth sometimes. It's all part of the design process and problem solving. It's part of problem solving, really. So right now we're doing place cards. I got to make sure I cross-reference all the names off of the guest list that you provided to me. Utayan. Got you the chicken, bro. Got you the chicken. Oh, severe avocado allergy. Each of these place cards are going to have the name. It's going to have a table number. And it's also gonna have a little icon for the menu item they got. This homie right here, he got severe avocado allergy. I did not account for this in the icons when I first drew them up. I thought this whole thing might be a little bit more generic, but this is gonna be a little bit more specific. I already got no shellfish. We got no shellfish. Keiki meal, bro. We got keiki meal. I think that means kids meal in Hawaii. No milk. We got the lactose. We also got the vegan one. We got the vegan vegetarian one. One of the next major parts of artwork is handling the artwork. Creative assets and visual language pieces. This is where you would draw some references and maybe also do a little concepts and analysis of how things be looking and how things can be looking. And then you can apply your own creative tastes. You know, everything's about tastes. If this was cooking a meal, this would be like gathering all the ingredients. We're just doing the first pass, making sure the names are spelled correct. We got a beef dish, so we got a little cow icon. We got a fish icon, and then we got a chicken icon. So I already developed a system for the allergies. It's just gonna be a little crossbar set at like a 45-degree angle, negative way. What I am gonna do is look for an avocado icon that we could trace off of Google. That's what we about, graphic design. Avocado icon. I just be typing things into Google sometimes. So now I just gotta get an avocado icon, and then I gotta slice that with the no avocado. About composition with individual creative assets that have been governed by the direction, so we can start developing design systems. Design systems that can be applied to multiple objects, different products, whatever format that they're gonna be in. Whether they're flat, 3D packaging, is it a book? You just gotta apply it. Be able to apply it through a system. I'm trying to think if there was a flat lay on a tabletop. We got some big leaves, and then we got the big statement in the middle. Camera to hover above it. We take a nice picture, kind of get that tabletop feel. I got another leaf element that I popped up with. Everything's supposed to play in that watercolor motif. What we really talking about is composing with the observable principles of design. You know, scale, emphasis, extraction, abstraction, lines and limits. Play with the scale. We're gonna get this one big up in here. I have the tips of the leaves pointed inward. Radio angle. The leaves are radiating. Optically spaced with the law. Pretty much go on all day about the observable principles of design. So that's just gonna have to be an upcoming episode. It is very important though. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a squinty eye test. Squinty eyes, bro. To make sure we ain't really reading the letters, but we reading the space, the negative space. Let's see the proportion. I think it's okay. I think it might work. In terms of just making things aesthetically pleasing, we're talking about composing with order and rhythm. And we get a little sophisticated there, but that's pretty much what it is. Alright, the direction of the artwork and the handling the artwork should always also be informed by some research. We're gonna find some references, maybe look up the location of the wedding, and take some notes about what we're really working with. Environment that the finished pieces will be living in and then doing their job. We want to talk about colors, we want to talk about architecture, we want to talk about plant life, we want to talk about landscape, possibly furniture choices. So those are just good places to start, you know, photo references. And then also any visual references that you get from the client in the brief, you gotta really balance all those inputs. For this one, we just got some pictures of flowers, so we just gonna not compete with that and maybe just complement that. We got fans, cause it's gonna be Hawaii weddings, nice to have fans, provide fans. Everybody go keep clean, so we got hand sanitizer. Then we got a registration table, a photo booth. This is gonna be remembrance. We got a late check-in sign, that's what it is. That's what we gotta do. We got a welcome sign, we got a big welcome sign. I ain't printed it here. We ain't trying to travel with that to Hawaii, and we ain't trying to ship it. So we're gonna have to get it printed in Hawaii. That's what we're gonna have to do. Another key aspect of artwork is being able to organize the artwork for printing purposes. So this includes all the mechanical information that would be in a printer file. Crop marks and trim marks, score marks, and you know, the margins for full bleed and things like that. Again, I'm gonna have to do a separate upcoming episode about setting up printer files, because it gets a little bit complex sometimes. 300 DPI, poster print, PDF, back it up with a JPEG, 24 by 36, or actually 36 by 24, so I mean wide. Your wide sign. So that's what we work with. The real goal of handling and organizing the artwork is to get it set up for the next big part of the design process. I basically just call this printmaking. Printmaking is the process by which imagery is fixed to a medium. It could be any number of printing methods. Silkscreen, lithograph, 4-color process. Started doing large format printing for design school. Before that, I never had to do anything at that size, 11 by 17. But now I pretty much design everything standard on 11 by 17. Not always the case, but that's just what I be doing. Most design studios and design settings that I've ever been in usually be printed 11 by 17. 11 by 17. So that's just what I be working with. But this also includes other types of mechanical printing as well. Embossing, debossing, foil stamping, letterpress, you know, anything that is making an impression of an image into a substrate is also part of the printing. And I just replaced the ink on this thing. We had to clean out all the printed heads. Very important to do when you got large format printing. You got a job that's gonna leave the house, we'll go to other people, let's go live outside. After the test prints, we go really gauge the size of all the letters and everything. It's not until you come out the printer, you have everything in your hand and possibly trim a couple of them out, really judge it. Critique, we gotta give it a critique. Some of the parts of printmaking that you have to judge is going to be their capabilities and limitations, the context and, you know, cost of materials and labor, speed and accuracy, repeatability, and all the physical aspects of printing. Whether you're doing it, another person going to be doing it, or if you got a robot to do it, you still got to understand all of those things about printmaking. Like, let's say a certain type of paper doesn't like to be fed into the printer in a stack. So at some point you're gonna be like babysitting the printer and like printing sheets one at a time. As a reminder of why it's always good to be mindful of the printing method when you find a direction for the artwork, because you want everything to just work well together. There are many printing methods. Every designer going to have a few of their favorites, but there are some general ones that work very well in the commercial world, and then there's some that work very well in a home design environment, I would say. For all the arts and crafts people, you can really use any printer and any paper you want. Just a little reminder, when you're working with inkjet printers, you want to be mindful of how much ink you have and how much paper you have, how much substrate you have. You don't want to run out of either one in a final production situation, because it's hella whack. I've been there more than twice. Actually, one of the first real design jobs that I had was working in a lady designer house. All of the projects were wedding invitations and wedding decorations for San Francisco weddings, opulent weddings, Zuckerberg on the guest list weddings. It's for 2 summers before I graduated design school. So I've done a lot of artwork printing and trimming for wedding decorations and wedding design. And since then, I've also done a few other weddings, mine included. I don't got a big boy printer, but we'll do a test print, prep up a high resolution print file, print PDF, and maybe back it up with a JPEG or something else that the print shop could work with easier. This is gonna be one sign, and this is gonna be visible from a distance. We got the watercolor tropical leaves going on, and we got in agency life, going from a designer all the way into directorship, you're really still gonna be very primarily involved with the artwork, printing, and trimming. All the little different various ways to manage a project. Each time with repetition, going through direction, ideation, and production, you'll gain more deep knowledge of the design process and the creative process. You will eventually become a very well-informed designer. Pattern recognition for the process. You'll be able to think of it as sequences and cascade. You won't ever actually stop thinking about artwork, printing, and trimming. I hope you don't. I don't. Much of my professional work has just been about artwork, printing, and trimming. So as far as I'm concerned, these are the skill sets that make me a living. My preferred trimming tools are an x-acto blade, a straight edge, and a cutting mat. For x-acto blade, I normally go with a number 24 blade for general uses, and then number 11 blade for anything that I need to do some fine detail by hand with. And for a straight edge, I pretty much always try to use a metal one, just for safety reasons. Especially considering when I'm trimming with a blade, this is one of the only times I'm actually cutting towards my body with a knife. So I want to minimize the risk of slipping or cutting a plastic ruler and hitting my fingers, because I've done that before. And that's not good. You get blood all over your project and then you fail art school. Also, a metal ruler is just gonna last longer, so it's always good to last longer. I pop out these wedding decorations and they're pretty uniform in their final format. We got these individual place cards, we got 100 of them, and then we got a total of 8 tabletop signage, 8 by 10. So they all fit inside standard photo frames. I don't got no test frames in the studio, but I've seen what an 8 by 10 look like in many different occasions. 8 by 10, not too hard to imagine. Trimming these individual place cards out, I situate them with the crop marks to be in a grid sequence. We got row by row and column by column. My method to start with is to minimize the risk of cross cuts, you know, where your current cut have to cross over previous cuts. And if we have any real long cuts, we go to the long cuts first, because long cuts are easier to do when they're uninterrupted by previous cuts. Another method is to have the light on the blade side of the straight edge, just to minimize all the shadows in the area, especially in the cutting path, and to also be very mindful of where the crop marks are, because those are the whole purpose of the trimming. When we cut things out by hand, I try to let the blade do all the cutting and just have an even pressure throughout the entire cut, and have most of my body weight over the straight edge, because I don't want that slipping. It's going to be very important to not have that be able to move anywhere at once. And then also you want to have a balanced stance. It's going to be very important when you're working with knives. When you're finishing the individual pieces, the design actually starts to look like more legitimate. You gotta clean up. Just trying to make sure everything gonna look consistent and make sure everything kind of belong together. We just got this watercolor theme, motif extended throughout. Hit it with the pink, hit it with the green. Springtime wedding, Hawaii, let's go get it. These are about to leave like right now. This was like the most last minute job, and this is the one little part that I gotta email back and then go get it printed in Hawaii. I really hope all of these things work out fine. Sometimes in the process, you got the artwork and you got the printing, things still look pretty unofficial. You know, you're like, bro, this job's supposed to be worth hella money, and then you're like, yes, this job worth hella money. They're all gone. The personal value as a designer for finishing a production, going from direction, ideation, and production, going through the process is going to ensure that you have more well-informed iterations in the future. Color area right here, need this to bump down a little bit. Can't believe I didn't catch that before. That's one thing that's going to have to happen. I really like how the layers be really interacting with each other. You got the colors that really just be multiplying on top of each other, give you those tonal values. Tropical leaf motif going on up in here. It have to be like that. Balance might turn upside down. See the balance, squint your eyes again. This doesn't really end. You're just gonna be thinking about the process in more different and more complex ways. Especially when jobs expand and contract, they involve different steps and many layers. You will be further building the skill sets that make you a valuable designer. Each and every time. Boom, we'll save that. Really, I should have saved it like super early on, and I should have like kept saving it after every move. I'm tripping right now making this video. As a director, there's gonna be some situations where you're not necessarily involved doing the artwork or the printing or the trimming. A lot of times in a commercial setting, you send things out to a printer, and that person will have to do the printing. You know, sometimes you receive artwork from someone who had to do the artwork, and then sometimes you're sending out all of these things to be printed and trimmed. So the person at the print shop is going to be getting all the experience doing the artwork, printing and trimming, making that person a more valuable designer. And then the cycle continues. In reality, there's going to be a lot of jobs, if you're doing this professionally, that you ain't going to want to put out of your own Epson. In reality, I even copped a cutting robot for my personal purposes. But in most cases, there's going to be a person in between you and the robot. So everybody gonna have to get smarter, and then the robots also get smarter. Get my face and focus, following my face, got the square on my face, got the red dot we recorded. All right, for sure, everybody. I'm about to head out. It's getting hella late. I hope y'all enjoyed our time here together, and maybe got some type of benefit from my story time. If you do like this video, please like the video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe consider subscribing. Like, every little bit gonna help me go far. If you got any questions, you got any comments, let me know in the comments. I try to respond to all the comments. I don't really got that many. I actually got a few more subscribers from the last video, so for all y'all out there who've been subscribing, thank you very much. Alright, for sure, everybody. I'm gonna see you next time. Embarklife. Oh, what? I'm still recording? Hey.